and welcome again to the Executive Room podcast, where we delve deep into the minds of remarkable executives who have shaped the business world with their ideas and actions. I'm your host, Kimberly Afonso, CEO and founder of the KA Consulting Group, and today it's an honor to have Jeff Kesler with us. Jeff is President, Dallas-Fort Worth of the publicly traded Veritex Community Bank. As the second hire, he helped grow the community bank from a dream to $12 billion in assets with a $1 billion valuation, becoming the 10th largest bank headquartered in the state of Texas. In addition, Jeff is an active philanthropist who launched the Jeff and Tara Kesler Banking Scholarship and advocates for healthcare and children's welfare as a board member for the Ryan Palmer Foundation. So I'm really looking forward to getting started. Jeff has a ton of experience as a leader and, locally and also nationally. So I'd love to start with a bit of company news. You have been in the banking industry for 23 years, Jeff, and as I mentioned, you were the second hire and you've helped build the bank to one of the largest in Texas. Can you tell us more about the origins and your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Kimberly. It's great to be here and join you today on this podcast. So, yeah, banking for us had been in almost 10 or 15, about 10 years when our prior organization on the heels of the Great Recession was acquired, was taken over. And so our founder and CEO had the idea, a dream really, with a vision to build what was Veritex. And lo and behold, he happened to make a call to me, and happened to be one of the first employees that was here. So really it was a dream and a vision that came off of the Great Recession to where banks were so internally focused on their own issues. We believe banking is about serving people and how they want to be served and providing solutions for them. And so we felt it was a perfect time. Many people thought it was a little contrarian, like a salmon swimming upstream, if you will, to start a bank when banks in the country were not doing well. So really just start with a dream and a vision and the concept of serving others and other entrepreneurs, which that's really what we are. We just happen to be in the banking industry, and that was the impetus, the origin story for us.
That's a great one. And it would be great, Jeff, if you could share a bit with us about what is a community bank and how is it different from a regular bank, and what does it mean to you to be the leader of a community bank? And, tell us a little bit more also about what the bank is contributing to the local Texas community.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Now, for us, the question itself, what is a community bank? I think I've been asked that before. Sometimes we know in banking, banks provide services, right? We take deposits and in turn make loans and investment in the community. That's really what banking does at its simplest form. That's there. So we're entrusted with people's capital every day, again, to reinvest back in the community. But it's about our mindset for us of why we exist, which is, again, going back to community investment, to serve others, to serve nonprofits, local businesses, like we were as entrepreneurs. We serve companies just like that every day, where it's an idea that turns into a dream someday, where you end up being the 10th largest bank in the state of Texas. So those are the connections there. But it's really about serving others. We believe that we're called to live in community, serve our community, and so we built the bank around that concept. And so the word community itself means different things. It comes in all different sizes. It can be 3 people in a local PTA. It could be a mom's book club. It could be a player association for the NFL, right? But what it is, it provides a sense of identity, belonging, and serving a common purpose. And people innately have a need for that. So we have founded this company based on values of truth, integrity, and trust, which drives that culture and permeates the organization, lives within our employees, right? Which they provide unparalleled service and ultimately creates value to where we get to reinvest back in our people and the community. So it's a beautiful, beautiful picture.
Love that, and also really love the examples you painted, Jeff. They're really, wide and different ways to contribute, which is great to hear. So, what are some of the lessons you learned from being a successful leader and growing the bank? And what do you think worked so well for you?
Yes, that's a humbling question because the first thing that comes to mind is the amount of failure that have experienced by trying new things and new ideas, and really personal failure of some leadership or where we had stopped personally growing while the company was growing. We must continue to remain a desire to learn, to develop ourselves that is there. So really it's through, I would say, failure that I've learned the most. And this is really has built resiliency in us. It has increased your emotional quotient, your EQ, and how you handle change. Uh, from the very beginning, when we started this bank, I always say the train of change left the station that day, right? There's continual iteration and refining and growing and remaining curious. So if we take that and apply it to failure, right, do we run from it or do we lean in and learn from it? And that's what I hope that we're doing. Well, we're doing that today as much as we can. We've got to have some courage to admit when we make decisions that are wrong, that might have been otherwise right at the time, but the outcome might not have been what we desired, to say, to pivot, but to learn from what may have not worked well. And then clearly to celebrate the success. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate every day, wins big and small.
Very well said. And I know that you share great insights on your LinkedIn, which we'll get to later. And I think some of them that you touched on today, you've also spoken more in depth about. So, I'll encourage everyone at the end of our episode to also visit your LinkedIn to learn more about some of those concepts. And, moving a bit more into the industry, considering the a retirement wave among leaders in the banking industry and the urgent need for grooming the next generation, what efforts do you think are needed to ensure a really seamless transition?
Yeah.
Do you see any trends on this? And what are financial institutions doing, especially Veritex, to help the community prepare for this transition?
Yeah. Well, we're doing a lot, and it starts with investment in people. To take a little bit of a history lesson, in 1986, in the state of Texas, there were three major events that occurred. We had a correction in the prices of oil, which dropped precipitously. We also had Congress deregulate the S&Ls, which deregulated the banking business and led to a great expansion and a lot of challenges. And then also the Tax Reform Act that occurred. And when that happened in 1986, four of the largest banks that were here failed or were acquired by many of the large banks we know today. And that's how they gained that market share. Well, when those banks went away, so did the training programs. So it began this kind of a little bit of dark age, if you will, for talent development that many knew. I'm probably on the cusp of the time where people acknowledged, spoke of, acknowledged, but then actually started to do something about it, to create analyst programs, to invest, for instance, also in the various banking schools at Texas A&M, Texas Tech, several others. Um, so that period is really what created a void of this leadership. You mentioned the number of banks that face potential succession in the future. Rolling back to 2009 and 10, when we started Veritex, there was approximately 8,800 banks in the United States. Today, there's around 4,400 that are FDIC insured. So consolidation, part of what we thought would happen, we've also been an acquirer, as well as growing organically, has in fact or did occur. So today, with the industry, the increased burden and regulation, right, we're always constantly managing growth, risk, and governance. Okay? You've got to be mindful of all three all the time, specifically if you're a company that is always looking to grow as compared to maintaining the status quo. So our investment in those schools, also here at Veritex, we have a healthy internship program that we used, and coupled with a banker development program. Now, during that time when those banks went away and sort of the training programs, I don't believe the industry did a great job of telling the story of how dynamic banking can be and the opportunities that actually abound in the industry. And so for today, in our internship and banker development program, people have a rotation into different parts of the bank. Just aside from being a banker, of collecting deposits and loans and providing banking services, is into finance, into IT, into cybersecurity, right? Every day we have information that other people want. It is extremely dynamic. You talk about fintech, right? And bringing technology in. So what we're also owning, and I love to own this, I'm very passionate here, is to continue to tell the story that banking is an entrepreneurial driven business. I think that's why we've connected so well to our clients, because we too were 4 people in an office 9 years ago, the size of this, raising capital with a dream. No different than your business, right? When you start with a dream, an idea, and a vision, you start hiring people. So we've faced those similar challenges and able to connect that's there. But we must continue to tell the story, invest in people and talent to build future leaders and managers so that the industry outlook is bright.
Definitely. Well said, and really agree with that. And in the face of some economic uncertainty, market volatility, we're always hearing about fluctuating interest rates, geopolitical tensions, unexpected events that we've seen. What strategies does Veritex employ to manage risk and manage financial stability while pursuing growth? And, you mentioned yourself, you've been growing rapidly the past decade. How does the bank keep up with such rapid growth in the current macroeconomic conditions we're seeing?
Yes. So clearly COVID showed a lot of people challenges with their delivery of services. The events of last March with Silicon Valley Bank reemphasized the importance of granularity, diversification, and concentrations that people have both in their securities portfolio, into their balance sheet, and deposits. All that to say that we must continually, in any economic cycle, monitor and manage our growth, risk, and governance always. Specifically when you're a growth company in banking, which sometimes does not seem synonymous with one another, but we are, because again, right, the more we grow, the profit, we get to reinvest back in the community and back in our people, hence why we do that. So we have been very intentional with our risk officer and in operations to always build the infrastructure ahead of time, or try to, or to seek the wisdom of others that have before, to work with your regulatory and governing bodies to ensure that we're doing the things so that when the day comes, we're prepared. Now, that means that you're investing ahead of the realization of revenue. But if you are going to grow, and that's in accordance with your plan, you do, in fact, invest. So a little bit about the mindset we've had. It's served us well, also to maintain great relationships with regulators that's there, the banking department as well, and to ensure that we're talking about what we're doing ahead of time before we're trying to go there. So really about foresight and mindset. But it's not too uncommon. During the pandemic, we had outsized growth where we leaned in again and acquired talent, both in operations, in sales, and bankers, when other people did not. And that benefited us tremendously. So a lot about mindset we've talked today, and then also some tactical things, the way we govern and manage that risk, which has benefited us today. So with that approach, what it'll allow you to do is to endure different circumstances that may come your way, like a pandemic, which no one had ever seen, not in my lifetime, certainly. And so if you build the balance sheet the right way, if you build your company the right way, you have the greater opportunity for both growth in an economic cycle that's expanding, maybe one that's stagnating, or one that may have some challenges either which way. So it's about building the balance sheet the right way. As we say, It's one brick at a time.
Very well said. And that's a great segue, Jeff, into a bit of leadership insight from you, which, I was really looking forward to this part, just knowing a bit about your journey. So, we previously were speaking about how you were the second hire at Veritex. You've held many leadership positions since then, managed hundreds of people. Can you share some of your key leadership principles or values that have guided you through your journey?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. First, a leader must be able to convey a clear and concise vision. It starts with a vision so that people can understand what they do every day in their mission, how it connects. And when they know the value they bring by performing their job every day, it brings greater joy and satisfaction in what they do. That translates into unparalleled client service, and it gets back to driving value, which again leads to the investment we talked about. So, one, a leader must be able to convey a clear and concise vision. Two, not only our words, but our actions and our behaviors must align. And companies believe we hire the best people. They're very astute, and they will make sure, they will keep you accountable. Does that happen? Third, we've worked to create, as we've acquired 7 banks and 2 non-banks in almost our 14-year history. We'll be 14 years old this September. Very excited about that. Common language, whether you're hiring new people or acquiring organizations, so that when we communicate, definitions are similar. So a great example of that on hiring, we've used the book by Patrick Lencioni, The Ideal Team Player. We all can talk about characteristics and values that people have, but very simply, in that book, it's humble, hungry, and smart. There's a great ideogram in there that talks about if you have one but not the others, what that looks like. We've all seen people with great hunger but no humility. Tends to break a few things. We've seen people with false humility. We've seen people that have been smart with people and how they connect, but not the hunger. So great common language that has helped us to hire people for fit first, right? And then build accountability both ways, between employee to manager to executive and vice versa. So when I've conveyed this vision, if I'm out enacting something else, an employee has the right, the open forum to say, hey, we profess this to be true, that aligns in our values of truth, integrity, and transparency, and I'm not sure that that does. Or can you help me understand, in fact, that it does? So a few things and a few little tips and tricks that we've used to help ourselves along the way, all the way from the front line to the executive boardroom.
Those are great ones, Jeff, especially that's a great book recommendation that you made, and a great point that I never thought about myself about the common language. So I'm sure everyone listening will take some great stuff from what you just shared. And you're so active online. You have a great LinkedIn. I really like your Thursday Thought series where you post your leadership advice. Your content always serves to inspire and mentor others. So, from building your own great brand, what advice would you give to other CEOs or top executives in your industry looking to get started with their public presence?
Yeah, wonderful. This was new for me. Social media I don't have a lot personally that I use. Our family uses Facebook and whatnot to communicate with things going on with family across the country, whatnot. Great for that. So LinkedIn is the business forum that I use. It's been wonderful to it. It's about what you put in. So I would say first is determine what your purpose is. What is the why of what you want to share? Is that personal brand? Is it about the company? Is it about influence or the impact in other people's lives? And so for me, this goes back to 4 years ago when I got called into a room with our CEO and founder, who I've worked with for 20 plus years, about my role changing because I wasn't getting some things done. A genesis moment for a lot. But I took that time and an encouragement here is through some reading to journal the journey itself, to look back and reflect on how we felt. Did we feel that way at that time? I took what I wrote, which I think, hopefully has value for others, that could be an encouragement or help build self-awareness or to be introspective as to who we are. So that was the why I decided to share those things in hope to benefit others, that it would positively impact their life. In a place in a world where a lot of things we read and see on the news is just not positive, spreading a little bit of light and wanting to encourage others. So if you know the why, it will be authentic and it will connect. Which gets to the second point, who's your audience, right? And so what is it? Who are you trying to connect with to further either brand awareness, right, or whatnot? For us, we talk a lot about golf. So if I have a lot of golf connections in there, we share stories about that community, right? Community of golfers. So who's your audience? And create content that connects with them, I've had to learn it. And third, be willing to be vulnerable. Early on, these are real life experiences you've lived. They're spoke of in a positive way, right? It's not tearing down of anybody else. It's purely, the intent is pure to help others. And when people can see that, I think the impact of it is much greater. But it does require some vulnerability. I know myself and some things that I've shared and some of the challenges we've faced or the failures I've had, that once I've shared that, there's been a little bit of anxiety, to be honest, about that. But to see the connections that have come from it with people, right, has been so impactful to me, and I've grown from it too. So it's a great journey if you're willing to know your why, connect with your audience in various types of media and content that's there, and then ultimately the willingness to be vulnerable. You have to evaluate if you really want to have the impact you're hoping to.
And I think that's why a lot of your content, Jeff, gets so many interactions, because people can see that it is authentic and they can feel your why. So that's great advice really for anyone getting started or who already has created content but wants to think about how to create it even a little bit better or really stay motivated. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. And you mentioned golf a little bit, and I've seen that golf, read that golf, it has a special place in your heart. Can you tell us more about your passion for golf, and also how does golf intersect with banking and Texas communities?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. The impetus for me was my father played golf, and I always loved sports, and so I started playing it with him, playing the game with him when I was 11 years old. Loved to be outdoors, and so that's just where natural interest sparked. I did not know that it would translate into the business connection that it had today. Going back to talking about our founder, Malcolm Holland, and his family, who founded this bank and funded it to start and invited us on this journey, also had a great passion for golf. And so while it was personal, what we also knew is there's a lot of business owners that enjoy the game outside. For some, it's hunting, right? Fishing, different things it can be. It can be tennis, whatnot, various different types of things to do. But for us, it was golf, and many business owners do. So you're taking time out of your life, 4 hours, to be outdoors in something you love. You might as well be with people that you relate to. And when you do, you learn so much about them, and they tend to be people who are making decisions. The COO, the CFO, the owner, the founder. And so the connectivity actually increases the time of which, or decreases the time of which it takes to build a relationship, right? So that they know who you are, again, what's your why, and why I want to serve them. So knowing that, from there, we realized the game of golf is also a journey. No different than an entrepreneur that starts from day one. A golfer starts as an amateur, maybe at 11 years old, 15 years old, 20 or 4, right? And they have a journey too that requires investment until they have this dream that's fulfilled. So there's the parallel between businesses that we build and investing in golfers. Now, we talked about community. The game of golf and our values align: truth, integrity, and transparency. So that became a natural fit for us. We took a step further and began to invest in men and women that play professionally, from the Korn Ferry Tour, the Symetra Tour, Champions, and the LPGA. We have a number of golf ambassadors that love to give back, to where we actually just don't sponsor their golf journey, but contribute to what they're doing in life, right? How they're contributing to the communities of where they live, right? And how we can be involved in there. And so that's how it's come from a personal passion to the business connection to giving back to the community.
And it's great to hear about how it's so connected, because some people may just think, oh, golf, it's a natural segue. But it was really nice to hear how it's connected to your values, company values. So, really, something I think other business leaders can think about as well when they're investing time into, connecting with people outside of the office. So, really, really great insights there. And I'd love to hear, Jeff, a little bit more about your philanthropy. You are giving back to your community in more ways than one, providing educational opportunities to college students with the Jeff and Tara Kesler Banking Scholarship, advocating and raising funds for healthcare, breast cancer awareness, and children's welfare. Can you tell us a little bit more about these? What inspired you to, invest your time and resources into philanthropy as well?
Yes. So we were just talking about golf and giving back to the reasons in the communities of where people live, right, and their life stories. And so, for instance, Ryan and Jim Palmer, with the Ryan Palmer Foundation, been a professional golfer for a long time. I get to serve, have the honor of serving on the board of their foundation with some other wonderful people. And 3 causes they support is Shriners, a hospital there, which Ryan's father was a Shriner. So that's the healthcare aspect of which we do. And we contribute into a Pro-Am tournament and whatnot there that people get to participate and see. But also on breast cancer, Jen's a breast cancer survivor that is there, so near and dear. We've actually invested through the foundation into a mobile clinic that will travel and provide services and scans for people that may not otherwise be able to make it in another community. And then, and last, her passion was dentistry as well, that was there. And so in certain communities, providing investment for people to fix oral surgeries and things in different cases like that, that has changed. It actually changes the momentum and the life trajectory of young kids. It does. It's little kids can be unkind to one another, to say, just as we all have known as being kids and growing up. And so anything we can do to help them in their spirit and their quest and their journey, and let their light shine, is part of what that's about. So there's a connection again through golf, the investment, and actually giving back to the community so people can see how that investment is made. The last part is deeply personal. Having gone to college at Fort Hays State University in Hays, Kansas, out in the Western Plains, fantastic place to grow up and to be from, and to receive an education that was there. I did not intend to be a banker. I happened to have a message on my answering machine back in that day, if you remember answering machines. And it was a job offer I got. And so I packed up my car and moved to Dallas, and that was the beginning of it. But there was a connection between the career services director and a banker down here in Dallas, which hence ended up in the business. Although my mom was a banker, my aunt, and my internship was, it wasn't a career that I ever thought of. Again, going back to my story earlier, because no one really told the story of how dynamic and the opportunities there are. And if that would have never happened, I never would have been part of the Veritex story. So the seed that was planted by that person at the university and this industry, and knowing what's happened here in Texas, it was the least we could do was to begin to give people, right, an opportunity through a scholarship within banking. We know that rural communities, as they're becoming smaller, um, banking is vital there. People need banking services. And so if we're not building leaders or telling the story, the industry's future is not as bright as I'd like it to be. And so Tara and I felt very passionately to start the scholarship with the Robbins Institute there at Fort Hays State, and very thankful that we have. Actually, our first scholarship participant will be coming up here this fall. So very excited about that.
Oh, great. And I look forward to following along. Hopefully, we can
Yes,
follow the journey of the scholarship participants and everything like that because it's a really great program. And yeah, you're right. A lot of young people don't know about banking. And like you said, Jeff, you're a great example of it is such a dynamic field that a lot of people, if they knew more about as well, could, find a lot of success in that. Um, and I'd love to, wrap up today on a lighter note. What is your favorite spot for Texas barbecue? And do you have any funny stories? I'm looking forward to hearing this. First time I was in Texas was last year,
uh-huh.
and the barbecue was amazing. So yeah, looking forward to hearing your experience.
Yeah. What a great question here. Texas is known for its barbecue. Other parts of the country are too. Obviously, I'm impartial and biased to what's here in Texas. Kansas City has some great barbecue too. So many wonderful places down in the hill country. You can travel for days around Texas and go to different places that has a beer garden, right, some craft beers, and really experience the culture and the community that we serve, right, of the areas. And so it goes hand in hand. Two particular places. Every time there's something new or becomes the place, the lines become long. They'll be around the building and backed out. And also, it's so popular that once the food is gone, it's done. You'll actually sell out of food, so you may not be open all afternoon on certain days. You may make it to 1 o'clock, right? So that just gives you an idea of how uh, popular uh, barbecue is here in the great state of Texas. So for years, I'd been traveling through Dallas, an area over here, a suburb, and I had not gone in the industrial area. And there's a place, and so one of my favorite places is Cadillac Barbecue here in Dallas. Wonderful place. And lo and behold, the first time I went there, the line was out the door. Line was out the door. And so kind of the story goes, I wanted to leave, do something else. And my friend's like, nope, you're going to stay here and you've got to get this food and we're going to eat it and we're going to enjoy it. So we got in there and we bought so much. I think we had 5 or 6 to-go bags and we walked out with with a bunch of food. So much I may still have some in my fridge today. But great experience, wonderful people no matter where you go. And if you're in East Texas, by the way, for anybody that may listen, in East Texas, B4 Barbecue in Maybank, wonderful place there. And that also happens to be my wife's and my children's favorite when they're out at the lake.
Very nice. Well, I'll take note of both. And you're right. I did notice the lines when I was in Texas. But if it's worth it, it's worth it. So, thank
Absolutely.
you, thank you so much, Jeff, for joining today. We will add your LinkedIn into the notes of the episode, and I encourage everyone to follow you on LinkedIn. Look at your content, connect with you. And until next time, thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kimberly.